The presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, is one candidate that has been very busy this campaign season. Obi, just like his fellow counterparts in the People's Democratic Party and the APC All Progressives Congress, has not limited his campaign to Nigeria. The former governor of Anambra State on Monday, while speaking at the Chatham House in the United Kingdom, said his administration will fight the structure and big boys who prevent the power sector from functioning properly. Obi promised to declare war on power and also said if elected, his administration would create a suitable platform to attract foreign investors into the country. The Labour Party candidate also vowed to tackle Nigeria's multifarious challenges, including oil theft, debt servicing, secessionist agitation, youth unemployment, electricity problem, insecurity, amongst others. Joining us on the show this morning to discuss Peter Obi's address at the Chatham House in London is Kenneth Okonkwo, spokesperson for the APC Presidential Campaign Council. Welcome to the morning show. Good morning and good to see you.
Good morning and thank you for inviting me, and good morning viewers at home for joining us. Okay. It's a privilege, actually, an honor to be here with you on the morning show.
Always a joy to see you on Arise News. So let's start by hearing what's your verdict on how your candidate has performed at this particular event, which it seems like every Nigerian aspiring leader has gone or will be going eventually.
Well, let me first of all admit that when I started working as a spokesperson for this great Nigerian, I was affected with his affection. But today, as the days go by, I am now infected with his personality. This man has just dazzled the world with his brilliance and convinced the world with his clarity. I have not seen a man who has started rewriting the history of Nigeria, beautifying Nigeria, even before he's sworn in as the next president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, as I know he will by May 29. Look at, I am proud of a principal who became so stingy that he could not even share his questions to other people. He answered all of them. We have witnessed in Nigeria where some candidates went on international molestation of our common psyche and went there and in their generosity shared all the questions and answered none. Have you not seen the difference between a man who is responsible and responsive as a leader, who is going to bring transformative and purposeful leadership in Nigeria, with a man who shifts all the responsibilities for others? Because, of course, like I said in Arise Television, Tinubu is incapable of granting any interview. He's incapable of national debate. He's incapable of being the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So I have a principal who has summarized in Chatham House in a sentence what he wants to do for Nigeria: secured, united, and productive Nigeria. That is just the summary of what he has told the world. Okay. He will provide security. He will unify Nigeria. And he is going to shift emphasis from consumption to production through and by running a production-centered economy driven by agrarian revolution. All right. And export-oriented industrialization. So he went to Chatham House to elucidate his 7-point agenda, putting flesh and describing how he's going to achieve each and every one of them.
Well, let's talk about that now.
That actually, good.
Yes, let's talk about how he's going to achieve this. I mean, you've given a broad overview of his performance at Chatham House. And so we would like to dissect some of the things that he said and what he had said he was going to do for the Nigerian people, responding to questions. The first thing I'd like you to speak on, which has come up a number of times, almost at the risk of sounding like a broken record, but still very important to address is this conversation around structure. Yesterday we had one of the PDP chieftains and a former Senate President of Nigeria, Dr. Bukola Saraki, speak to us, and he brought up this issue around structure of the Labour Party. This time he was speaking to the fact that Mr. Peter Obi, yes, has gathered steam and a number of people in the last few months. However, if he is indeed elected as president come February 25 and sworn in May of 29th of May 2023, then he doesn't have the numbers in the National Assembly to push some of these promises that he's making to Nigeria, which can only be effected by legislature. How would you respond to this? And the fact that he said, it's just a few months campaign, Labour Party doesn't have structure, just one person who is driving the entire party and campaign, it's not going to work. What's your statement? How would you respond to that?
Well, first of all, as you can see, the structures that PDP and APC have is the structure of criminality, structure of corruption, structure of fuel scarcity, structure of poverty, structure of insecurity, structure of bad leadership. I could go on and on. So if Obi is part of that structure, you wouldn't see me being a spokesman to him. And that is why he is coming in to destroy such structures. Let me tell you, Obi is a man that is already used to providing democratically engineered disruptive change. When he was the governor of Anambra State, he had no member of the House of Assembly, none. But he was able to get everything he wanted approved by the House of Assembly. He was able to get everything he wanted in Anambra State, and within 4 years, he became the #1 in the whole Nigeria in all indices of measurement. In MDG goals, he was scored #1 by UNDP. In the poverty rate, he was scored #1 by the DG of NAPEP, the Poverty Alleviation Program, by PDP. In the network of roads, he was scored #1. He built 800 kilometers of roads. In the debt management strategy, he was scored #1 by DMO. And in every other indices, yet he did not have one member of the House of Assembly when he came in as governor. This is what Obasanjo would describe as track record of ability and performance. What you need to be in control is not having members in the National Assembly, as pleasant and as important as it may be. What you need is political will. What you need is strong institutions. In America, independent candidates had become president in America, but they went in and delivered on the job. Obi is going to provide leadership. He is offering a new brand of leadership that is less transactional, that is efficient and effective, that is responsive and responsible. Do you know he was impeached by the House of Assembly, wielding their tyranny of majority? What happened? He went to court, and the court said, no, you cannot vilify a politician because you have majority in the House. There must be a proof of misconduct. And since there is no misconduct by this great politician, you must let him be. And he went back to his state. Obi has committed himself that he will never be corrupt. Indeed, he is incorruptible. So no National Assembly, even if he does not have one person, can move against him because he has to misconduct himself first. If he has not misconducted himself in Anambra State for 8 years, not even taking the land that he is entitled to or pension that he is entitled to, how can he misconduct himself when he becomes the president? There is a proverb in my place: you don't learn to be left-handed in your old age. Obi is coming. He is going to have members in the National Assembly, but what we are interested in is a new Nigeria.
All right.
And by the executive power, political will, institutional strength, which he's going to engender, he's going to provide the leadership and the standard, which Obasanjo said that we have not experienced something like that, and it will not be deleted from Nigerians' history. The kind of standard he's going to implement in Nigeria.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, with profound respect to Bukola Saraki, he has made no point on that issue.
Well, that's your perspective. But I like the fact that you practically wax lyrical about your candidates. You can even create a song, and I guess your friend and brother, Peter and Paul Okoye, they will probably help you put the music on, and we will all enjoy it. But let's look at the facts as they stand.
Yes,
as of today,
I'll dance it too. I'll make it danceable.
Okay. As of today, one of the things that's being said is you don't have candidates in most of the political offices that are open for election. Why is there that situation? Why is there that gap? Is it that you can't find the right candidates to aspire for those offices, or you don't have enough members that will sit for those offices? What exactly is the issue? Let's address that and forget about whether you even win at all or not. Why don't you have the quality candidates?
Well, because I have committed myself to honesty. Indeed, I do not even know how to lie. Recall that P2B entered Labour Party almost about 2 weeks or 3 weeks to the end of the nomination time, by which time the party has not become as monstrously popular as it has become now. So the entrance of P2B made it very attractive to Nigerians who are looking for an escape route out of these structures of criminality. So when he entered there, you discover that there were some offices that were not filled. And P2B is not the man who in emergency yields to pressure. He will still be committed to the capacity, the competence, and the character of each and every person. And he would prefer that a seat is vacant rather than fielding an incompetent or people who are not of character. So in those areas where you're not seeing candidates, it's not because we couldn't have drafted in anybody, but by the time, the shortness of time, we were not able to certify that we can comfortably vouch for all the candidates that we are putting in there. Because when you want to bring a new thing, you must not succumb to the blackmail of the opposition to, in your haste, begin to come against the particular thing you want to preach against. So we are prepared to do the right thing at all times. Okay. So whoever was qualified was allowed to get in within the short time that we had. Recall that we even had to go the way of placeholders. Yes, in order to have our time to even get the particular candidate we want at the national level to even be a vice president. And thank God we did. We got a cerebral dirty who would not even agree to buy the property that was corruptly given to his fellow members when he was a member of the National Assembly. He refused. Because he said it is public property and he will not use the advantage of being a member of the National Assembly to acquire it. That he was the person in the National Assembly who made the issue of the procurement to be sanitized in Nigeria. That he has 2 universities. Coming from a section where going to school is even difficult. We had to settle down to make a choice of him to make sure that we are in a new Nigeria we can be proud of.
Thank you, Mr. Okonkwo.
So that is exactly what happened. Right. And the mere fact, thank you.
All right, so Mr. Okonkwo, let's talk about corruption, since we're on that subject. Yesterday at Chatham House, Mr. P2B, your presidential candidate, had said that one of the reasons when they talked about shoring up revenue and attracting foreign investment, and his response to this was that it's like honey and bees. Bees are naturally gravitate to where there's honey. So in essence, making the economy or driving policies that make it attractive to investors to come in to the nation. And one of the ways in which he said he was going to do this was by fighting corruption. He's spoken about his kick against corruption, the stance against corruption. How is he going to do this in the very complicated system here in Nigeria? And beyond that, talking about corruption, he also said he was going to eliminate fuel subsidy. I would like to find out from you, how soon if he does become president on the 29th, or when he's sworn in on the 29th of May, how soon is he going to do away with fuel subsidy, bearing in mind that the current provision for it ends at the end of June? Would he be willing to, do away with fuel subsidy 1 month after he's sworn in?
Well, I would surprise you by saying the issue of tackling corruption is the easiest thing to be done in Nigeria. And the reason is simple. Like my principal said, it's the state officials that are stealing oil. So when you get into office and you employ people who are not corrupt like yourself, you have ended completely oil theft. Oil theft is not something you pilfer. It's not a liquid you can't put it in your pocket. A ship cannot be hidden before a ship moves into our territorial waters. And I'm telling you, as a lawyer to some oil magnates, before a ship enters our territorial water, if you know what it takes a ship, you will know that security agencies, government officials must be complicit before a ship can enter our territorial water. Do you know, shamefully, for any barrel of oil that Nigeria sells, 51 barrels are stolen and sold illegally. How do I know that? 51 pipes were illegally projected into the major pipe that carries the legal oil for us to export. And each one takes as much oil as the major pipe. And this has been existing for 9 years, telling you that corruption has become systemic. It was only when my principal voiced out that it is the state officials that are stealing oil, that's when they started making the discovery. The discovery has been there, but the lack of political will, and because the state officials are the thieves here, it is impossible to fight. So the first strategy that my principal is going to adopt is that he himself is not going to be corrupt. And if he is not corrupt, who is he that is working for him that will be corrupt? Well, I'll tell you what happened.
Well, Mr. Okonkwo, let me just butt in here. Let me just butt in here. Let me just butt in here for a second.
If you would allow me.
No, because
so
it's in line.
But will not give me some.
No, it's in line with what you're saying, because of you're talking about when one person says he's not corrupt.
Proceed.
The current President Buhari, has said in a recent, when he went on the campaign trail in Yobe State, that he does not have a house to his name in the United Kingdom. You can search him. He is not corrupt. However, this hasn't stopped, people around him. We had the AGF. We've had a number of high-profile corrupt cases under this administration. So that's not convincing enough. If one person, in this case, the president says, well, I'm not corrupt, it's no longer strong enough for Nigerians to say that doesn't mean your government is going to be corrupt. So how would he ensure?
Thank you very much for bringing... Good. Thank you very much for bringing up that issue. Because you have reminded me the reason why I followed President Buhari. Because in all honesty, when he tells you he does not have a house anywhere, he's being sincere about it. I can tell you, the closest I reached to President Buhari, I can tell you that there has not been any proof to any personal corruption to his name. No doubt about that. But that's talking about character. And that is why we are saying the 3 C's are the irreducible minimum for the next president. Because character is not enough. You must have capacity, you must have competence. President Buhari is lacking in capacity. Maybe because of his age. I don't know. Because a man who has sat in a hospital for 8 months outside Nigeria, when he's the president, certainly will lose track of certain events. Maybe his competence may be questionable. As you know, his certificate is still being doubted, whether he did his primary school or secondary school. So we need these 3 C's. And my principal has them in excess. When you talk about competence, hey, he was educated in the University of Nigeria. He was educated in London School of Economics. He was educated in Oxford University. He was educated in Kellogg Graduate University. He was educated in Columbia University. He was educated in Massachusetts, Boston, Harvard University. All the best universities in the world. That is capacity. When he climbs the staircase, he jumps it. telling you he's fit as fiddle. Not just that he's going to be a leader, he's going to supervise the people that are working under him. That is why it is dangerous to elect a president who cannot even come for a national debate because he's impaired in his reasoning and he has lost his memory, his abilities, his experiences. He has lost all of them. And I'm talking specifically about Bola Tinubu, who is suffering from dementia and amnesia. It's dangerous to bring such a person on the position of leadership. And I am talking about Atiku Abubakar, who is now an octogenarian, who cannot climb staircase. And you can see the mess they are already doing. And that is why we are saying that P2B is the only option, not just an alternative option. When you talk about corruption, I've talked about the capacity, the competence, and then the character. P2B, I can tell you one thing. One of his aides met me when they were talking about corruption. He said, I am the one who took the parcel of land to His Excellency P2B. I personally. And I was shocked when he replied. And he said it was not to corrupt him. It was his entitlement. Just like in Abuja, everybody is entitled to a plot of land. As a governor, he's entitled pension, plot of land. But he rejected all of them in order to prove to the world that he came to serve, not for what he would receive, but what he will give. So he's going to tackle corruption. Why? He's going to reduce cost of governance. He's going to ensure the entrenchment of rule of law. He's going to establish an honest and efficient civil service. He is going to live by example. So the structure of corruption, what did you hear about Obasanjo when he talked about Atiku? He said this is a man that has propensity to corruption, tendency to disloyalty. He's a man that is unable to say and stick to the truth at all times. He's a man that has poor judgment, a man that lacks transparency, a man who believes in marabout, a man who
Mr. Okonkwo,
believes in money to pay his way out in all the things he's doing. He has readiness to compromise morality, integrity, propriety, truth, national interest for self and selfish interest. Corruption personified. He has corrupted the older generation. He advised Obasanjo against open corruption, but encouraged
Kenneth, let's ask the question so that we can move very quickly.
He has infected the next generation with special purpose vehicle of corruption.
Okay, thank you very much. Very quickly, before I ask you the question I was going to ask, I want to believe that...
it's like you guys
don't
are
worry.
giving a lot of headbutts.
No headbutts at all. No headbutts at all. It's very simple. One of the things we try to do is to make sure that the conversation here is fact-based and that there is nothing you say that cannot be verified. You did mention that Atiku cannot climb stairs. Do you want to take that back, knowing that you've seen the man climb stairs several times, and say that was a slip of tongue?
Oh.
You know that he has climbed stairs before.
I've also seen Tinubu climb stairs.
So you cannot say...
imagine the climbing of the stairs.
So are you saying that you know...
I'm not talking about being lifted like forklift. Yeah. I'm saying let him come and jump the staircase like my principal. I'm not talking about being able to lift your leg.
Okay,
no,
then telling me...
fitness.
Okay,
well, I'm talking about the ability to do pam, 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 pam. Let him come and do it.
All right. Okay. The fact is he can climb stairs. But don't let us dwell on that. Don't let us dwell on that. The fact is the man can climb stairs.
I'm talking about climbing.
All right. Very quickly then, because we have very little time, so that we don't dwell too much on this. Very quickly, in terms of the state of Nigerian economy, the level of debt that Nigeria is trying to service is so much that it can be described as unprecedented level of debt that Nigeria is owing. Your principal, Peter Obi, how do you think he's going to maneuver and walk through that process where we can say we have money to run the services and to develop the economy of Nigeria in a situation where we're owing so much and servicing debts has taken over a very high percentage of how we use our revenue? Where's the money going to come from?
First of all, let me admit that we do not have any effective government in place. Because this government is going to leave for the next government 77 trillion naira in debt. So it's a terrible situation. But there is a good news. When Obi became the governor of Anambra State, he inherited debts from his predecessors. Gigantuan. But you know what Atiku said about Obi? When they were telling him about debts? He said, thank goodness Obi is with me and he's good in managing debts. Is there in his Twitter handle. So the issue here is that we have a man who is prudent, who has been prudent and who will be prudent. So Obi inherited debts in Anambra State, but left them with 75 billion naira and left them with $150 million, not owing any contractor, not owing any, no pensioner was owed, nobody was owed. Go and verify. So what does it take? Nigeria has money, we have materials, we have men. What is lacking is the ability to combine, to utilize and allocate our resources in the right way through planning, organizing, directing, and controlling so that our national objectives will be achieved. This is what is lacking. Obi is going to cut our debt in 50% immediately he comes in. Why? Like I said, cost of governance. You can see how much people are budgeting for feeding alone. You can see how much they are budgeting for healthcare in Nigeria. You can see how much they are budgeting for education. Right. None is seen. Okay. Why? The contracts are inflated by more than 50%. So when he comes in and there is no inflation of contract, you saw that one of the reasons why he was impeached was that what was to cost 400 and something million in Anambra to build, he built it at 120 something million.
Okay, Mr. Okonkwo.
And that was one of the reasons he was impeached.
Mr. Okonkwo, we need to go.
How much he has saved.
Yes.
So by the time he removes corruption from the system, he would have gained 50% of the revenue he needs.
All right.
Now,
Mr. Okonkwo, we need to wrap up. We need to wrap up, but just very quickly, one statement.
I thought we're just starting.
No, we're done. One statement, and it's important to just mention that your principal did say that debt wasn't the problem. It was what the debt was going to be used for. As in other crimes, he cited the UK, he cited and some other nations like that, and the United States of America, that we use our debts to service consumption, whereas he would use it for infrastructural development. Just to mention that in terms of inheriting or not inheriting debt. But finally, I'll just very quickly in a statement.
You're very correct.
Yes, in a statement, just the assessment of INEC's readiness to, for the elections come February and March, because there are allegations around one party skewing or vote buying and the likes, and unfairness in terms of picking up PVCs. Has your party experienced this? And in one statement, very briefly, please, I'd like you to respond to that.
Let me make it clear that I am disappointed with INEC, because people have personally reached out to me to say that some INEC officials collect 2,000 naira from them, 5,000 naira from them before issuing the PVC. Then some INEC officials close their offices before the closing time just to frustrate some people. And in Lagos State, it is already there. If your name is an Okoro or an Uju, they will skip your name and call other names. It's there in the open. So INEC should please be very careful about 2023 election. It's an election like no other. PVCs must be given to everybody and on time. They should come out on time and they should close even later than their time, not before, because of the exigency of the time. Okay. INEC has not convinced me that some moles are not working in their midst.
Thank you very much. They must
make sure that they should be up and doing. And the security agencies must provide the needed security for this election.
Very good. Okay, on that note,
to peacefully change our government is closing up gradually. So we must be very careful in 2023.
Thank you very much.
A lot of people are dissatisfied with this system.
Thank you very much.
And it is only open, clean and transparent election that can assuage the feelings of everybody.
Right. Thank you very much.
must rise up to the occasion. Security agencies must rise up to the occasion.
Yes.
The Chief of Defense Staff, you have known, has publicly
Everybody's got to
that
rise
they are
up to the
under
occasion.
by some quarters
Yes.
So we must be very, very careful.
We have to run now.
In
We
Nigeria.
really have to run.
So INEC has
Kenneth
not impressed
Okonkwo,
me, but I'm believing they should be
spokesperson for the Obidati political presidential campaign. Thank you very much for your contribution.